Hi there, I'm Kathleen Jasper. Today we're working on part 3 of how to write a teacher resume. In part 1, we went over the 3 most important elements of a teacher resume. In part 2, we took those 3 elements and added them in with the job description and built an effective resume. And now in part 3, I'm going to show you how to jazz up that resume so that it's kind of aesthetically pleasing, because I know a lot of you want to make it, cool and interesting and all of that. So that's what we're going to do today. Part 3 is going to be how to jazz it up, make it look cool so that you stand out. Let's get started. Now, let me be very clear. The resume that we have built, and you can take a look at this one here, is perfectly fine. This resume is fantastic. It does the job. It does everything it's supposed to do. The principal doesn't really care what your resume looks like. The principal wants to know that you are qualified for the job. And this resume does that for sure. But you might be somebody who's like, you know what, I'm trying to apply for the yearbook position, or I want to be the graphic design person, or whatever. Then you may want to jazz up your resume a little bit and make it not so basic. But this basic resume will definitely do the job. And you can always just use this template, and these templates are going to be in the descriptions below. So don't worry about that. But let's just say you want to make it a little more, interesting. So a couple things you can do just in Word that will help you do that. All right. So let me go over to my Word document here. Now remember, very, very important. We built this basic resume in Word. It's lined up nicely. All of my bullets are aligned in parallel, and I've proofed and checked for any spelling errors. I've kept it very simple so that I can make sure I'm not making any mistakes and things like that. But let's just say, I might want to try something a little bit different. I want to make it look a little bit more balanced or whatever. Well, there's a couple things you can do in Word to make that happen. Let's say that I want to kind of turn this basic 1-column resume into a 2-column resume where the dates are on one side and my experiences are on the other. Well, that's very simple to do. What I suggest you do is work with tables, because that keeps everything lined up. So let's take a table here. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's go with just add a couple more at the bottom. And I'm going to make this a 2-column table here. Now this is going to be kind of a lesson in formatting as well for Word. I write a lot of books, so I format a lot in Word. It's important you know how to do this. This is a skill that will help you along the way for many, many things. All right. Now let's say I want to kind of break this stuff up. First, let's go ahead and put our header in here. So I've got this up here. When you want to do a header, you just simply double click at the top of the page here. So notice, let me click off. If I want to put something in the header, I can put it up here. Just double click up at the top of the document and the header option will open. Now I just went here and I highlighted the text and I hit Command C on a PC. It's going to be Control C, or you could right click and hit copy. All right. But you can see here, it's got your shortcuts. Those right there are your shortcuts. I like shortcuts when I am formatting. And then I'm going to hit Command V, which is paste. Oops, sorry about that. Command C, put it over here, Command V, and there we are. My header is nice and neat there. Now, I'm not sure why, but oh well, this was a different font that I used up here. Something is going on. There's a little bit of a different font. So I'm going to go into Home and see what's going on. I don't really have a font here. What font did I use for my name here? Let's highlight it. Cambria, I guess we had there. We can find that if we just type it, Cambria. And there it kind of makes it the same. Cambria. All right, and so you can see that this header over here and this header over here look the same. I like that font. Sometimes it's fun to use a different font on the header than it is in the body. Notice that the body here is Times New Roman, which is a basic font. You do not want to use Comic Sans or curly Q's and things like that. Please don't. We don't want that. Comic Sans needs to die along with the objective on the resume, all right? No Comic Sans. Now, I've got my table here. I'm going to start to fill in the table and start to organize it a little bit so you can see how to use tables to organize information and how to erase the lines so you don't see the table. So let's go ahead and start grabbing the information. So I'm going to start with education here. I'm going to grab this and I'm going to put my education in here. All right. Now I'd like my date, instead of it being attached right there, I actually want it to be part of the column over here. I want to put it over here. And I'm going to align this right. So it's all the way over there. And I'm going to pull this just a little bit. Let's just pull that there and see what happens, okay? Now I'm going to go with my certification here. Oops, grab my certification here. Command C, put my cursor here, Command V, or Control C, Control V, depending on what you're doing. Now I want to take this anticipated spring 2022. I'm going to cut it, Command X, put it over here, Command V. And notice that this Praxis core went up to the first line. All I'm going to do is hit Enter and hit my bullet back, and it'll get me back to where I was. Now I'm actually going to take this whole column and align that right. So everything is aligned right on this side. All right. Now I'm going to keep doing that. Now with my professional experience, as you can see here, I have 1, 2, 3 things. So what I think I'm going to do here is I'm going to take my professional experience and I'm going to make that its own thing, its own row. And then I'm going to take substitute teacher, put it in this one here, delete any space. Then I'm going to take head server and I'm going to take that and paste it there, delete that space. And I don't know why there's a space here. Delete that space. I'm going to zoom in a little bit for you there. And then I'm going to take this CPA job and I'm going to put that in here. Now notice I'm on 2 pages here and I don't want to be on 2 pages. So I'm going to move some things around, but first I'm going to take my dates and make all of my dates. I'm going to cut this here, paste, and I'm going to, well, I'll unbold later. I'll unbold them all because obviously I have bold for everything. Command X, Command V, Command X, Command V. Now you can see some are aligned right, some are aligned left. I'm going to go back up here, highlight the whole column. Notice my little arrow hits, highlight the whole column, hit that over there, and I'm going to unbold. Okay. Now, I'm on 2 pages. I don't want to be on 2 pages. So let's move this guy over here and see if we can get on 1 page. And it looks like now we are on 1 page. Okay. See that? We are on 1 page. Now, I don't really like the way this February to present, January to February, I don't really like the way that looks. So I think what I'm going to do is just take out the months. We don't really need the months. And just clean it up a little bit so that it's just the years. And that starts to look better there. Let's just keep going there. Put a little space there. All right, again, I'm on 2 pages here. Let's see if we can pull this over just, see, I go, well, we could do, I don't like the way that looks. I want it all in 1 line. So what I can do to kind of reduce our font a little bit, just highlight the whole thing. And instead of 12, just do 11. See what happens when we do 11. And there we are on 1 line. And I have some space here. Now we have this nice kind of table situation here. Now, I'm going to go ahead and close out this resume so that my stuff is bigger. Yeah, we'll save that. All right, so here we are. Now you can see I have these borders around my resume here. And I don't want that. I don't want the person reading my resume to know that I did this table situation here. So what you're going to want to do is highlight the table, this little plus sign up here, highlight the table, and then under borders, click no border. And you can click no border, and now there's no border. Now look, they have these dotted lines here. Those are just grid lines to show you that there is a table there. That doesn't show up in the print preview. But if you want to see what it looks like without it, just go to layout and uncheck this view grid lines. See right here where my cursor is? Uncheck that and look at my document. It's all nice and neat. And all of this stuff is over justified right. And I didn't have to hit the space bar and all of that. It's nice and neat. It's not going to shift and all of that. You could also, let's see if this works. Let's take this. Let's go back to table design. Let's go to border and let's do right border here. Oh, nope, I don't want the right border. Let's undo that. Let's highlight this here and let's go with Let's see what happens when we do left border. Notice we put a line right there. See how the line looks really nice? And what I did was, let's go back to layout, view grid lines. All I did was say, put the border line here. And that was really easy to do. I just highlighted this column here, and then I went to table design, and you can see I'm at my left border of that column. And then when I undo those grid lines, you can see that that border's there. You could also use this area here to write, different things. Like let's say I want to keep this 2010. Let's say I'm going to keep the 2010 here. I'm going to put it right here. And I'm going to, let's just say I'm not going to put my dates over here. All right. Let's just say I'm going to keep my dates where they were over by where my experience is, but I want to type some things in here. Let's go back to my grid lines because I can't see what I'm doing. But let's say I want to type some interesting things here, whatever. You could, put some awards and accolades here. You could put this here. Let's do awards, and you could do whatever, NHS, make this bold. You could do NHS, Teacher of the Year, another award. Okay, and you could kind of start to put awards there. You could put, professional development here. That's not how you spell development. And I'm going to maybe justify this right. Or, just maybe justify it center. Let's see what that looks like. Play around with it. And then bold this, and then maybe, content area, reading, let's see here, I don't know, coaching tactics, whatever the professional development is there, right? And it looks like the spacing's a little bit different here. So what I would do is go in here, format, paragraph, and maybe just bump up the spacing a little bit so that it matches. And you can see now it matches this here. And now when I turn off my grid lines, let's go back to my layout, turn off the grid lines, you can see I'm starting to add these little areas, these little vignettes on the side of this line here. And that's really helpful. Now it just got pushed to 2 pages. You may want to do this. You may want to, make your font a little bit smaller. Maybe you want to go to 10 so that you can fit more things over here, or so that you can, do this and make it a little bigger column here. But that's how you can use tables and columns to kind of church up your resume so that it's not all messy and you're hitting the enter key and all of that to make that happen. Now remember, when you're done with this fancy resume, you're going to want to PDF it. And that means you're going to go up here, File, Save As, and instead of Word document, you're going to click PDF and make sure this PDF is at the end of it, because it's going to lock everything in place. And so when you upload, it doesn't shift, especially if you're using tables and things like that. Now I will go ahead and finish this, and I will put it in the description so you can download it and you can just put it into your own Word software, and then you can change it up if you want, if you like the way this looks. And I'll give you several different ways in which you can do that. So you can just use my template if you'd like. But just know you can use these tables any way you want to move information all around the page. You could have, you could have a big area down here at the bottom where it has, information or something like that. You can use the tables in any way you want. You just have to merge cells and delete the different column lines and things like that. Play around with it. You're not going to hurt anything. Now, the other way in which you can church up this resume is by using a really amazing software called Canva. And I'm going to show you how to do that now. Let's hop over to Canva software at canva.com. Okay, so Canva is one of my favorite tools online to do just about anything. I use it for logos. I use it for handouts that I give to you guys when we're doing webinars. I use it for resumes. I use it for all kinds of things. All you have to do is go to canva.com and you can do a lot of the things we want to do on a free account. Now, I obviously have a paid account because I do a lot on Canva, but they have animated stuff. They have presentations. You can do all of your PowerPoints in here and they're animated and it's so much better than PowerPoint and Word. Now, let's say that I want to do a resume. All you have to do is go up here in the search bar in Canva and do resume, click it, and look at all of these templates you can choose from here. Now, I wouldn't go with like this, crazy with your face like giant on here, right? Like something like this. She's a fashion designer or she's a model, so her face is going to be like the main thing. You may want to put your face on like this Chad Gibbons one. This one's really cute. I love this picture. He looks like he could be a coach or a really fun, high school social studies teacher, something like that. So this is a great way to kind of organize your resume here. You could put your picture there. You can change the colors here. Notice this is blue. Let's say Chad really likes pink. He could do pink. Probably not. You're going to want to print this. So you could do like a gray here or even a black looks pretty cool there. So remember, it's going to be printed out probably. So you're going to want to tone down some of those colors. But you could have a black and white one and a colored one. So it just depends. And you can see it's already kind of set up for you here. You've got your work experience here. Let me zoom in a little bit here. You've got your work experience here. You've got your contact information here. It's aesthetically pleasing. Again, it's one page and it's all set up. Let's go to some other templates. Let's go to, look at this one's kind of nice. We've got education and training, character references. I wouldn't put this on your teacher resume right at the moment because I'm going to do your references later after the interview. So this just takes up space here. So I'm not really in love with that template. I like minimalist resumes. You can see here. I think I did this one. Yes, I do. I actually have one just like this. I'll pull it up and I'm actually going to let you use it as a template. But you can see personal profile. You could put that there. Who are you? What do you do? What do you enjoy? Your contact details, some skills and abilities. Now remember, we're focusing on teaching. So you're going to want to, serving diverse populations, using data to drive instructional decisions, all of those things you might want to put under skills and ability. Your academic profile, maybe where you went to school, you can change all this up, and your employment history. You can even get rid of this whole academic profile here and just continue on with this employment history and, basically, copy this whole thing. And let's do that. Let's copy this whole thing. And your command keys work here too. You could pull it down here and maybe just get rid of that and that because you are going to continue, the employment history there. So you just got to play around with it. It's more for someone who likes to play around with graphics and things like that. Again, this is not something you have to do. It's just fun to use Canva to kind of put that in there. You can make it as simple as you want or as crazy as you want, but I would really, try to get the information on there and make sure that it is, spot on. Now, I'm going to show you a couple resumes that I made in Canva that I will also make available to you so that you can kind of use them as a guide. All right, so here is a resume I did. This was actually one that I did for a leadership resume course that I did. And you can see I've got my personal profile here, data-driven educational leader with 2 years experience in implementing school-wide programs. You can put that. Now, that's not an objective. That's me telling you the kind of employee I am. The objective, remember, is annoying. Get rid of the objective. Instead, tell me about what you can do. Here's my academic profile, and I've got my information here, skills, and then I've got my employment history here. And you can see that all works very nicely. So this works really, really well. And when I download, I go to PDF, and you hit download here. and it'll tell you the progress and it'll open up. And this right here is one that I can now, upload into, the resume software or whatever they're using to organize the resumes. And it's all right here. And I built it on Canva. It's super simple. It's lined up. It's aesthetically pleasing. It's got everything there and it's on one page. All right. So those are some ways that you can use Word, tables, and things like that to move around information from your resume, and also Canva to design something a little more jazzy. But remember, that plain old PDF that we did in part 2 is perfectly fine if you're someone who likes to keep things simple and keep your life free from headaches. But if you're someone who likes to play around and try some graphics and do some different things, definitely go over and check out Canva. We're not affiliated with Canva in any way. I'm just obsessed with that software. I use it all the time for so many different things. You'll definitely find it helpful for your classroom as well. There's so many things you can do in Canva that will help you in any kind of creative situation. So if you have any questions or comments, go ahead and put them below. All of the templates and the things that I referenced here will be in the description below for you to download and use for your resume. If you like what we're doing here, please subscribe to the YouTube channel and hit the notifications button so you're notified when we upload new content. Let your colleagues know we're here. If anybody needs help with resume building, this is where to go. And thank you so much for watching, and have an awesome day.